What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Importance Flashback Reviews, where we take movies from our past, break them down, and tell you what we think about them. As always, if you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check out the YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter. Email endlapolo1138. You may comment if you have any questions. So we continue our quest for Avengers Endgame. We just did our first movie in our Phase 3 content, which was Captain America Civil War. Phase 3, in technicality, is the last phase to Avengers Endgame. So everything from here on out is just consider it Phase 3. But the next movie in Phase 3 is the first solo movie to come around, which is November of 2016's Doctor Strange. And as kind of a history thing for me, I like Doctor Strange. I think he's a fun character. I believe he was one of the first Avengers in the group. He, is known for being the supreme sorcerer. He is known for his mystical arts, his magic. He uses his hands to create energy types things where he can do blocks and he can see in the future because he has Aya Agamotto, which is the time stone. And so we get our movie, which is not necessarily following the original comics. It's the MCU version of Doctor Strange. It's directed by Scott Derrickson, written by Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill. And it tells the story of course, Stephen Strange, who is a very well-renowned surgeon. He has performed miracles. He has, saved people's lives. One of his colleagues, who's played by Stuhlbarg, misreads a patient who he thinks is brain dead, is no longer alive. They're going to, harvest his organs. And of course, Stephen Strange looks at the sheet, the thing that, has the x-ray, and actually saves the guy's life, pulls out the bullet, all that good stuff. And he is like, that's the kind of guy he is. But in the process, he's a jerk. He's not very nice to his colleagues. He's not very nice to people. He turns down people who really need his help. When he's in the car traveling to the function he's supposed to go to, he sees he hears different stories about different things that he could, possibly do surgery on. One of them actually, I think, is Rhodey, which is really interesting. But he acts like he's bigger than everyone else. He's more important than everyone else. And yeah, he's a very well-renowned surgeon, but he's not a good human being. He has a lot of issues. He treats Rachel McAdams, Christine Palmer like crap. But he does magic with his hands. He helps people. That's the reason he is who he is. And so, of course, when he's traveling in his car, he crashes, breaks his hands, destroys them basically. He can't do surgery anymore. It breaks him down mentally. He tries to get them fixed, but with modern surgery that is not involving him, it's impossible. And he basically learns of this guy who's played by Benjamin Bratt, who basically found a way to heal himself because Benjamin Bratt's character basically was a paraplegic. He had no feeling in any part of his body basically. And he goes to this place called Carmitage and he heals himself, and it's through his soul and his mind. And he basically is, had the will to, make himself whole again. And so Strange travels to Carmitage, where he meets the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton, and Mordo, who's played by Chiwetel Ejiofor. And they basically teach him how to use his mind, use his soul, his heart, to basically heal himself. That doesn't mean his hands are ever going to be complete, but the fact that he can, perform magic, or the fact that he can still perform miracles, if you ever want to become a surgeon again, he can, this is the kind of thing he's dealing with. And instead of going back to that surgery / doctor route, he learns how to perform the magic arts and, all that good stuff, the ways of, this group of people in this temple. And it's an interesting fascination of transition from guy who's up his own ass to guy who's going to protect people. But in the process of that, we have a character who's played by Mads Mikkelsen, who's playing Caecilius. And Caecilius once taught underneath the Ancient One. He was a student. He was well regarded. But he didn't believe in the Ancient One. I think, if I remember right, he basically found out that the Ancient One's kind of a fraud in some respects. So he went off on his own. He comes back and takes a book that is going to, take down the sanctums, and he's going to become all powerful, and he's going to, call on Dormammu, who's been, enshrined in this dark sector. And he basically he's like every other villain in the entire universe of the MCU, where they wanted to destroy the Earth, or the universe, which is like, okay, he's just not a great villain. It's just not a lot of fun. He's more fun than the character from Thor: The Dark World, which I don't even care to remember because that movie was so bad. But he has his whole plan, and then Doctor Strange finds the Eye of Agamotto, which there's a really funny scene where he's using the time stone to basically turn an apple from rotten to back to normal, back and forth. And he does that with a page that Caecilius has taken out. And so there's the quest to not only protect the sanctums, which protect the universe, the earth itself, but he has to, protect everything because, the Ancient One, of course, gets killed because she is protecting the whole scenario. And he has to become the Sorcerer Supreme in essence because Mordo is having a conflict of interest and he's very angry about how the Ancient Ones kind of misled him in ways. And that's the basis of the story. You know how it plays out, but I love this movie a lot for the simple fact of its visual flair. Scott Derrickson, who is known for his horror elements and his horror movies, if you ever seen Sinister, or you ever seen the Exorcism of Emily Rose, or Deliver Us from Evil, he's very talented at making you feel not only uncomfortable, but making you feel like really odd and really terrified. And this movie does not that to the extent, like, because if you know Sinister, you know what I'm talking about. But he in ILM and whoever else worked on this movie has created something wholly unique with this movie that you don't really see it anywhere else. And that's the fact of they're bending reality, they're turning buildings upside down, they're flipping them, they're like bending them, they're walking on walls, they're astral projecting themselves, which means they're going out of body, they're fighting each other in the astral projection realm, all these types of things. It's basically using magic, mystical art, and using that to your advantage. And then you're using the Eye of Agamotto, which is, the time stone, which is, turning things back and forth, which he uses against Dormammu, which is really funny. But then you just watch like the very beginning of this movie when the Ancient One fights Caecilius, and you watch how the buildings start like twisting on themselves and just like rotating, and you're just like moving around them, and it's just really cool. And it's really funny that nobody in the real world can see this because it's all played in like an alternate dimension type of situation. And then you have where they're fighting in the city, they're chasing after each other, Caecilius and Doctor Strange, and the city starts collapsing onto itself, but it's different portions of the city. It's kind of like Inception in a way, which is really fascinating. But the movie does stuff like that, which is just so cool, and just the way the characters are playing the situations and rooms and ideas of that situation. And there's this segment when he's in the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York where he's fighting Caecilius and Doctor Strange is trying to run away too because he has this thing where he can transport to different parts of the earth. And Caecilius has the ability to like manipulate that as well, to manipulate the reality. So he's like making the hallway longer and everything's moving forward towards him, so Doctor Strange can't move. But it's just really cool, and just the set pieces are really awesome. And then you got the cloak that Doctor Strange has in the comics, which allows him to levitate, and that is really fun because it has its own personality, and it's just there's so much good things to like about this movie. And I honestly think that of all the characters in this movie, I think Tilda Swinton's a standout because she has to deal with the fact that the Ancient One is not white but is an Asian person. So was a whole big thing about that. But she just has so much fun with her role. She's eating it up. She's very serious. She has wisdom to her, and you go through this like have you ever seen Contact when Jodie Foster's character goes to whatever dimension she's going to go to that planet, and that kind of stuff happens, but it's getting like a horror vibe because you see like little fingers popping up out of his arm, and just to see all like the weird acid trip he goes on through there, and then just to see her, the Mordo doesn't really believe in him, but you can tell that she does. She knows there's something special about Strange himself, and just the way she talks, just the way she acts, just the way she composes herself, she's just so good in this movie. And it kind of sucked to see her get killed off, but in order for Doctor Strange to become the Sorcerer Supreme, she has to kind of go away. So it's kind of a, take one, give one type of scenario. But, Chiwetel Ejiofor is also really awesome in this movie as Mordo. He is not as good as instead of stuff like, Children of Men, which he's really good, or Serenity, which I also think he's really good in. But I love this guy. He's an amazing actor. He's a guy that, like I said, is conflicted. He doesn't really believe in Strange, but he has to accept him, and he does fight alongside him until he finds out what happened, why the Ancient One kind of lied to him, basically. So he goes on his own quest, and we all know Mordo, in the end, becomes the bad guy. So I hope he's the bad guy in the second one, because it would be really cool to watch Doctor Strange and him fight with what they know and their powers, because I'm sure this is going to take place years later, because I think Doctor Strange takes place like well before, it's in like the Civil War, Winter Soldier era, if I remember right. So I think it'd be really cool years later that they have mastered their powers, everything is finished off with the Endgame, and it's going to be really cool to see them two fight, see how that plays out, see the evenness to their characters. And I'm really excited for Chiwetel Ejiofor to come back, because I love him so much as an actor. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's I guess the major problems with the movie are the colleagues of Doctor Strange. Rachel McAdams is really not given much to do outside of preparing and trying to fix Strange and the Ancient One, and that's all her character does. And they have a romantic history together, and it's like the Natalie Portman problem. It's just not really that interesting. And to be fair, if she didn't show up in the second one, I wouldn't be upset by it, because I think with Thor Ragnarok, I think it proved that you could get rid of the love interest, have a much more interesting, fun female protagonist, and just be done with it. Michael Stuhlbarg is fine. He's whatever. It's always fun to see him in movies. And Benjamin Bratt is just kind of a point of interest for Doctor Strange to move on to the next whatever. And of course we see him in the end credits, and we see how that plays out. But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, Scott Derrickson, his aesthetic really plays well here. Doctor Strange is a very weird, very horror style character in an essence, because it is, like I said, magic, mystical arts they can be very horrifying. If you ever seen stuff like Lord of Illusion, or even stuff like Child's Play or Nightmare on Elm Street, where they're dealing with like, like magic and stuff like that, it's the type of movie that Scott Derrickson and even C. Robert Cargill are well versed in, and it really plays to their strengths. And you can't not go without saying that Dormammu scene when he's using the time stone is fantastic. It's one of the best things the MCU's ever done, because he keeps repeating Dormammu's like, I'm not going to help you, and then he's just like, just what do you want? He's like, take your minions and leave. Dormammu agrees, and that's the end of the movie. But yeah, it's an awesome movie. It's definitely worth watching. So, but there you go. That's the take on Doctor Strange. Sorry about another long video, but Doctor Strange is one of my favorites in the MCU, so I like to talk about it. But yeah, so comment below on what you think of Doctor Strange. Let me know if you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, let me know what you like about it. I'm sure you're like with me with the Dormammu scene. But I'm interested to know where you would rank this also in the MCU. So tell me in the comments below. But otherwise, we'll see you on the next video. Hey guys, how you doing? Thank you so much for checking out my video on Movie Emporium. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Also hit the notification button. Join Movie Emporium. Watch videos. Enjoy the content that's available already. Check out these two videos right here. They're great videos. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. Thank you so much for whoever does subscribe and whoever does watch. And we'll always see you on the next video. Peace out, guys.